How can we achieve a growth mindset? Check out Cosmo Kramer. This guy is amazing. He wants to really get the mindset in place, but some of us have some trouble doing it. But today we're going to get started on making sure this actually works very well for you. Before we get into the video though, I'd like to remind you to subscribe to my channel and press the bell button below. Like this video, share it with anybody you believe that this would be any value to. And finally, I have a $100 bonus for you. As long as you stay to the end of the video, I'll tell you what it is and how you can get it. So today we're talking about how to achieve a growth mindset. It is very important for us to start by framing the importance of the idea of thinking, because thinking is where everything else starts. Usually in the conversation when it comes to growth hacking, it's about tools, about technology, and then methods, but very little is talked about the mindset or the mentality that is used behind it. Let me break it down into a very simple equation for you. Your mindset supersedes everything because how you think will help set the culture that you put in place that defines the strategy that then helps you put the systems, processes in place that create the tools and technology for you to deliver the products and services you do. So at the center of it is literally your mindset. So I'm going to throw this up onto the screen. I want to show you what a growth mindset, but also how a growth hacker specifically thinks. We have 4 quadrants here. One are the drivers, second is reach, second is tooling, and third is how they make decisions. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the first part. So we'll stay on this image. For those who are listening in, I'll be describing this. So no fear if you don't see the image, and there'll be resources how to reach these images in the links below. So the drivers, the first thing is mischievousness, curiosity, and status quo. At the core of a growth hacker's thinking is they're naturally mischief by nature. They have no trouble ripping shit up. And because of that, they become extremely curious, right? Why is something like this? Or why is something not like that? Why hasn't anyone tried it like this? What about the combination of 1, 2, 3, 4 things combined as a specific outcome? How would that change the world? If we were to take a smaller perspective, a bigger perspective, a new perspective, a whole complete fresh look on things, being absolutely curious about how these things actually work. Finally, when it comes under drivers is the status quo. The thing about status quo is that growth hackers do not comply with the status quo. In fact, their whole job is to actually break the rules that govern everything happening around us. As Albert Einstein famously said, you cannot solve a problem by thinking about it the same way you got into it. You have to change the way you think about it if you plan to solve it. And if you stick to the same rules and the status quo around it, you ain't going to solve that problem and you ain't going to grow. Let's switch over to the next quadrant, which is the reach. Focus, collaboration, value creation. The thing about a growth hacker is they are extremely focused. And the reason that they're extremely focused is they understand the limitations of their resources from time, money, tools, capabilities, access to people. They know the only way forward is to get so extremely focused and specialized. It's the only way forward. The other thing is collaboration, which comes down also to resourcing. So resourcing is a challenge for all of us, but those who know how to collaborate very well, and we've seen many examples of how collaborations can be extremely effective, putting those highly effective collaborations in place helps you grow. Finally is value creation, okay? So when they're focused, they collaborate, everything focused towards how to create value for the customer. The customer is at the center of this thing, and how you develop and drive value towards them is crucial in making whatever it is that you plan to grow. In the last quadrant, not the last quadrant, but the quadrant at the bottom, decision making. So creativity, experimentation, data-driven decisions. The first and foremost is, again, you cannot solve a problem unless you're thinking about it differently. And so approaching it, key to it will be creativity, okay? But creativity without experimentation, meaning you can't really detect what would really work or not. And there are 2 types of broad experiments. There's validation and discovery. Validation would be a cumulative of about 99% of experiments. and experimentation would be about 1%. Experimentation obviously are more complicated, take a bit more time, and obviously more resources, hence why people spend more time validating than actually discovering. Regardless of the two, you're still experimenting and you come up with data, and on the basis of that data, you remove ego. Ego, when out of the way and data supersedes, you make tangible and very raw, clean-cut decisions on facts and reality. And the final quadrant is tooling. So under tooling, we've got systemization, optimization, and technology. In order to grow a growth hack or grow anything, you need to be able to scale and automate. And to make that happen, you need to have systems, you need to be able to you need to optimize them, and then you need to use technology to make that happen. Now, if you noticed, I actually left that quadrant to the very last, and for a very specific reason. These types of tools and technologies can blindside us. They can either be an enhancement like a superpower or a crutch that we keep using that holds us back and gives us a handicap, right? We don't want that. It's actually the very last thing. So when we recap, we look at the things that drive us, how we actually reach out, and then we look at how we make decisions, and finally circle back to the last quadrant of how we think, which relates to the tooling part, which is technology. So since we're back now, we're going to move over to habits. I have these 14 habits that I look at and evaluate when it comes to developing a growth team. This is included in hiring and identifying potential talent to work on my team. So let's get started. I'm going to throw this up onto the screen. I'm going to keep it up there and go one by one. The first habit is openness, okay? You need to be open to all kinds of possibilities without any bias or filter, just open. The second part is you need to be flexible, because so if you're open but not flexible, then it's almost pointless to be open, right? But if you're open to all possibility, then you need to be flexible with how you actually deal with those possibilities. Then you need to remove ego. The most successful way to develop this habit is to recognize that you're just a cog in the wheel. We all want to believe that we are really much, much more important than we may be. And I understand we do play important roles in the things that we do. But when we step back and see that there are much greater, bigger things at play, and we're there to take advantage of them, to capitalize on them and use them in ethical and compassionate ways, of course, to develop growth, we have then the habit of removing ego. The fourth habit is risk-taking. So let's say you're open, you're flexible, you remove ego, but you're not ready to take risk, then all the habits I just mentioned are, again, absolutely nulled out. They're pointless, right? So you need to be open, flexible, no ego, and then you need to be able to take risk. And take risk is not about genuinely just a leap of faith, because you will be taking a leap of faith. That is the truth, but it's calculated. It's calculated because you take a very careful look at all the variables that are visible to you, and because you're open, flexible, and remove ego, you're able to deal with situations as they come along. Fifth is fresh perspective. It is important to continuously refresh your perspective. We refresh our internet, we refresh our browser, we refresh our refreshments. We're used to refreshing things, but we do very little to actually refresh our perspective. We need to do a lot of that. Sixth is generosity. This is a very unique one, because if you're not generous to the people and the world around you, you won't be able to attract the resources you need. Givers gain, as I can't remember who's actually coined that, but I genuinely believe in that. And the most successful people that I have ever worked with who've achieved massive growth are genuinely very generous at the core of who they are as a personality. Seventh is curiosity. We've talked about in the mindset. You need to be always curious about why was the color red chosen? Why was this shape put here? You keep asking things, of course, in a very useful, pragmatic way that you can decode the things around you, because you're able to look at them from a fresh, open, flexible way and take the risks that you need to be able to use that curiosity in a very productive way. Eighth is team focus. You know that you can't work alone. Growth hackers are always aware that they have limited resources, and working within the team is the best way to multiply and accelerate our capability. They listen before they take action. So it's not just raw data that is on your computer that's in front of you, but it's your ability to listen to people around you, because they're consistently providing you mental data that provides you the learning in order to take action. 10 is cohesive approach. So when moving forward, we move collectively, not individually, and we keep that momentum moving forward. 11 is consensus. So as we move forward together, we need to keep that consensus. Diplomacy does play an important role here, but I need to be very frank with you that the best of the people who succeed in growth, they have little diplomacy, but they do their best to make it happen, and that is the best advice I can give you. Sometimes we spend so much time in diplomacy, we lose time, energy, and effort to get to the results, so we need to be effective about that. And the next one is diplomacy, which is obviously I've just talked about and how it connects to consensus, so it's really important not to waste time. 13 is action-driven. Everything that you do is removing, understanding theory and models and all that fun stuff, but moving it towards action, consistently moving it towards action. You learn something new. What the hell can I do with this to get utility out of it is what this is all about. And finally is collective wins. Now, I leave this one to the end for a really important reason. We all work together to win, but it's not about I winning and you being on my team. It is a collective win. Even the smallest player in the chain who contributed to the massive growth and success should also be in the win. They should not be on the sides. Now, how to develop this mindset? Now, I gotta tell you that I will be developing new tools and videos that relate to this, so do keep abreast of updates by hitting the subscription, following me on social media, and if you take the bonus, which I'm going to talk to you about at the end, you'll be on my mailing list, which is awesome. But what I can leave you with, because I don't want to leave you hanging, is you need to surround yourself with absolutely positive people who work and think a lot like you. I'm not saying discard people who bring new perspective, because it is important to surround yourself with those types of people. So you need to be very balanced. Some people who the conventional world would consider nuts and all over the place are some of the people I actually enjoy spending the most time with, because they force me to see a new world, which is absolutely awesome. Read as many books, watch as many videos, hit as many blogs, get well learned, identify what things overlap, remove them, get to the new stuff, and understand what is happening in your space. Pick a mindset dimension that I have chosen and develop it as a superpower. Identify 3 habits and consciously work on one of these. Choose 3 from the 14 habits and actively work on them so that you can develop your mindset. So let me just put this right up. I'd like you to comment below, okay, how do you think you can best build or improve your growth mindset? Please use the hashtag growth hacking. I'd love to get the growth hacking community involved just beyond myself, so we can help every individual who has questions around this. You stay to the end. $100 bonus is my certified level 1 growth hacking course. It's a $100 course. I'm offering it for free for a limited time and a limited quantity. Go ahead into the description. You'll find the link below. It gives you the details and the instructions on how to do that. So I will see you on the other side of that, and I'll see you in the next video.